Just didn't work. I appreciate the support. And I'm town attorney. Yes.
Oh, where's Kevin?
Because I kept getting the other ones. Then we gotta put your name. Yeah.
Oh.
The August 21st, 2025 meeting of the Greastown Board will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Supervisor Wiles?
Present.
Councilman DeMonte?
Present.
Councilman Murphy?
Here.
Councilman Blumer?
Here.
Councilwoman Montanaro? Here.
I would ask everyone to please stand and join Councilman Murphy as he leads us in the oath.
Oop. Liberty and justice for all.
I would ask everyone to offer a moment of silence prayer or reflection. I'd like at this time invite Maureen, Jamie, and Erica and the Girl Scouts to join me and the town board council members at the podium. Right where you are. Well, here with me tonight are a few members and leaders of Troop 60575. We are recognizing these young ladies tonight for the wonderful work they did at Cranberry Pond Trail right here in Greece. They spent many hours clearing the paths of debris, also placed long branches on either side of the trail to make it easier to navigate. They even trimmed back pricker bushes to make the path easier to walk. These young ladies are leaders for the future and active contributing members of our community. And they learned that giving back to the community they live in for the benefit of all in this whole procedure that we're recognizing them for tonight. So on behalf of the entire town of Greece, we'd like to thank you for your hard work and helping to make our town trails beautiful. There are many residents that utilize those trails. I know a former town supervisor, Don Riley, does. But many others do as well, and they appreciate all your hard work. Sometimes we've got a lot of trails here in the town of Greece. We do have a parks department that tries to keep up on it, but it's not always possible because there are so many trails in the town of Greece, which is a good thing. So we really do appreciate all your efforts and the time that you gave up from your day to make the town a little bit better. So congratulations, thank you very much. And I'd ask you, if you want, if we can stand right here, we're going to get a picture, because we're going to put it on Facebook, because too often all we hear about are negative stories about our young members of our community, and we'd like to make sure that we're able to highlight the positive and the good that they do, because in doing so, that will inspire others to also do good for the community. Everyone smile now. Congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
Now opening us for our public forum. This is an opportunity to address the town board on any issue of concern relative to the town of Greece. This is not a question and answer period, nor is it a time or place for commenting on previous applications that have come before the board. If you have a comment or question concerning an application, or if you would like to provide the board with any type of paperwork, please leave it on the inbox located at the top of the lectern. The clerk will obtain all the documents after the meeting and disperse them to the board members accordingly. I would ask that you please use the center aisle when approaching the lectern. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes to address the board in accordance with the town's civility policy. Please state your name and address for the record, and at this time I'd invite anyone that would like to come up to do so.
My name is Lindsay Kramers. My address is 63 Kimlark Road, Rochester, New York. Good evening. My name is Lindsay Kaya, K-A-H-Y-A, and my address is 32 Raleigh Street, Rochester, New York. So as I stated, my name is Lindsay Kramers, and I am the Community Engagement Coordinator with the Smoking Health Action Coalition of Monroe and Livingston County, a program of American Lung Association, and with New York State Tobacco Control Program of the Department of Health. We are tasked with educating municipalities in our catchment area on the importance of tobacco-free policies and the overall harms of tobacco products. Smoke-free policies allow for healthier and safer environments in the community by limiting secondhand smoke exposure in public spaces. We would like to note that the town of Greece does not have any outdoor smoking policy regulations for the town-owned property according to the town's website and on E-Code. We would like to recognize that the town did pass a comprehensive tobacco retailer policy last fall that limits the proximity of tobacco retailers to schools and other youth-centered spaces, as well as distances from other retailers. Through this, we can see that the town prioritizes the health of the community members by limiting exposure to tobacco marketing. A tobacco-free outdoors policy would only further emphasize how the town prioritizes the health of its community. Having the town of Greece own parks, playgrounds, and government buildings go smoke-free will not only limit the exposure to tobacco products and limit the exposure of secondhand smoke, but it will also limit the amount of tobacco litter that is found on the town property. Tobacco use in family-friendly spaces models unhealthy behavior and normalizes the use of tobacco. When children see adults smoking, they see smoking as being more acceptable. Support for tobacco-free policies is growing. Currently, over 280 municipalities in New York State have passed regulations restricting tobacco use in outdoor recreational areas, and we would love to see the town of Greece be added to that list. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lindsay Kaya, and I'm the reality check coordinator also with the Smoking and Health Action Coalition of Livingston and Monroe counties. Reality check is the youth engagement portion of our tobacco control initiatives, and today I'm here just to share some of the perspectives from some of our youth involved in the program. Currently, I lead a group of reality check youth within the town of Greece, many of whom have voiced growing concerns about the rising use of e-cigarettes and exposure to secondhand smoke in their community. Youth have a heightened likelihood of initiating tobacco use when they have increased exposure to smoking. Furthermore, tobacco use and exposure remains the leading cause of preventable death in the United States. So keeping our communities and youth safe includes reducing tobacco use norms, tobacco litter, and secondhand smoke exposure. Adopting a tobacco-free outdoor policy would be a meaningful step toward improving public health and creating a healthy environment for all.
Thank you very much for taking an interest in this. I will tell you that there's no smoking on any town property at all. That's the policy. And in addition to that, one thing you ought to modify, it's not just tobacco, it's vaping. That's dangerous too, so that we don't allow that on any town property.
So, I can ask questions.
Yeah, no, it's not a question.
All right.
Appreciate it. If you want to direct in writing anything or come next month, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Tim Smith, 302 South Drive. How's everybody doing tonight? I just want to bring up an issue. I live on Long Pond, the pond itself, and we have an invasion of water chestnuts. The DEC is involved, Scott Kobe has been involved, but we need help coordinating, getting this stuff cleaned up. They sprayed what I would call the southern end of the parkway, DEC did, but they are overwhelmed. There's a football field size swath of this plant in the pond. It's spreading, it's close to getting into Cranberry. The DEC is very fond of keeping up the quality of the water. Our neighborhood association has been out there physically picking this stuff, and we need help, either from the town to help coordinate. There's multiple neighborhood associations involved. Long Pond Shores Apartment has people. We need volunteers. It's too bad the Girl Scouts scooted out because of it. They wanted to kayaks and pick. But it's frustrating, and this is shocking. I've been there over 45 years, and this just appeared this year. It came out of the creek by the dumps, and if it keeps spreading, you won't have to walk away. I'll be able to walk over to Bernard's Grove for dinners. If anything, I request that I get an open audience with Scott and see what we can do to try and coordinate some activity. The town has been supportive. They picked up the refuse, I would call it, the vegetation that we pulled out so far. But we need help. We need an army of people to get rid of this thing. Otherwise, we're not going to have the pond to live on. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Charlie Ennis, 1022 Rumson Road. Long-time 30-year resident of the Creeks. Anniversary this past month of July of 95. And Greece certainly has changed quite a bit in 30 years, and I suspect it's going to change even more in the near future with a regime change or change of some kind, political change coming up the road here in the not too distant future. Bearing that in mind, I noticed there's a public hearing this evening to consider various proposed amendments to the code of the town of Greece, chapter 94, 95, and so on and so forth. I would ask that that be postponed or deferred in lieu of a regime change coming up here in a few months. There's obviously an election coming up in November. And I think this is for good reason, good cause, why this should be deferred or delayed until January, let's say, when a new regime takes charge. Give more time for consideration of all these changes that are proposed. Not only that, there are so many other issues in the reality that we live in today at different levels of government. For example, federal grants are being reevaluated now at the federal level. And town and county governments are being held even more accountable to different new standards even. In some cases, grants have been denied, taken away to the tune of billions of dollars even. The town of Greece doesn't reach that level, of course, but there's still a lot of grants in play for law enforcement, building, a whole host of issues within the town, environmental and so on. And I think that because of these changes, the focus of the town government should be on addressing these issues and perhaps other related issues instead of going into perhaps the murkiness, if you will, of the changes to the proposed amendments to the code of the town of Greece. I think we'd better serve, the public interest would be better served if we were to delay and defer the action until January, taking all the considerations in the times that we live in, the very unsettled times that we live in at all levels of government. Using that as a background, I think it is a workable and good idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. We are not a sanctuary town, and we've received a lot of grants, over $40 million in my 12 years, and we received some additional ones for the police department just this past week, so I think we're doing well in that area.
Wait, it's my turn. Joe Cameo, 447 Craig Lane. I just noticed on the back of the agenda, budget adjustments, and the special one with the solar project that's coming up. It's just so excellent. It'll help this town, not, well, it'll help to release some of the grit and help the town. Solar is such a fantastic project. It only saves money. I just wanted to commend you for keeping this going.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, we will save over $1 million a year for the taxpayers, eliminating the total electric bill for the town of Greece. Not only all of our buildings, but all of our streetlights will be offset by that.
Hi, Laura DeConick, 1002 Long Pond Road. I am asking that before you vote on number 18, the authorization to appoint the residential plan review inspector, if you could please describe what this person would be doing. Thank you.
Good evening, Ryan Murphy, 197 Old Country Road.
You look so scared.
Actually, a simple question tonight. I know it seems like every month the town is purchasing a new vehicle for their fleet, whether it's DPW, police, what have you, which, believe me, I understand the town vehicles get beat up, they get used, they have to be replaced. I was just wondering, what is the lifespan of a town vehicle on average? How often do we replace them? Do we buy new vehicles every year? They last 3 years, 5 years, 7 years? I hope we're not replacing vehicles every single year.
Ernest lives 99 Hidden Spring Circle. I try to place American Legion 468.
Yes.
I've been trying to contact all the board members in the last couple of weeks. I had a meeting shortly after last month's open forum concerning the rezoning of the parcel on Vintage Lane to multi-dwelling senior apartments. And I'm one of the residents on the other side of that development. I've tried to call you, I've tried to email each of you. The only one who's been able to get a hold of me, and it was just recently, I know that this is a busy time of year with the election, was Mr. Murphy. But I'd like to talk to each of you, and we're trying to set up a meeting with a core of the residents. There is a core of residents that are here tonight. We thought it was on the agenda to be voted on. I have a serious concern because I had a meeting with Scott Colby, and he suggested I place a FOIL request, and I did that to request the information concerning the new project and the old project. And the only thing that was provided me, and it was just provided to me yesterday through Avon, was some planning minutes, planning board meeting minutes. And it didn't address what most of the residents have a concern with. We have some serious inconsistencies as well as what was presented at the last meeting. I think most of the residents didn't understand or didn't know what was going on, that it couldn't be voted on by the board right now to approve that project or not. I personally would like it not to be approved because even what was provided me did not meet my FOIL request, but the planning board did not even review the items that they were supposed to review as part of their own requirements. I was provided with a synopsis of 37 pages of items that were reviewed by residents, and it doesn't appear that that was reviewed in accepting this proposal for that. I would hope that some of the residents that are affected here with possible evaluation of their properties and such, just say briefly what their concerns would be. Is that the?
That's the 3-minute time.
Okay, let me just say this with this. I emailed you the major concern. I did talk to John, and apparently he did not see what was sent to me as in the FOIA request. I'm looking forward to a lot of coordinating all the input. Also, in Scott's meeting, when I had it with him, we were told to address concerns to the town board through Ivana, and apparently she hasn't been getting those. And there's also the starts of position. I'm sorry, I only have an early copy, but there's a petition from 3 or 4 streets that are being collected now. Josie's Lane, Stony Creek, Hidden Spring Circle, obviously, that were our part of it. And I will table it at that. Can the board please address when this issue will be voted on and how we can get this input from our residents to you, Chairman?
Well, thank you. As you noted, it's not on tonight's agenda because we indeed did hear the concerns from all the neighbors. And we pulled it from the agenda at this point in time. And, it's going to be some communication with the developer. As you know, as it's zoned right now, I don't know the exact number. The applicant could put up 14 or 15 single-family homes there. And we can't, it's placed for that. So we would have no say if he chose to go down that path. So now we're gonna see what direction he's decided to pursue before we make take any action.
There's several inconsistencies in what was presented to us.
Well,
The agreement.
Scott Opie's the person to be talked to. We can't collectively, the full town board, meet with a group because that's not legal and it violates the open meetings law. So communicate to Scott Opie, he's our expert in that area, and he conveys that to us.
We can't meet with any of.
Individually, you can, one-on-one, but not collectively as the total town board.
I would leave a copy of the email that I sent with the concerns, including like the 6-foot fence that we supposedly agreed to, which was not the case. Here in the inbox, if I could meet with a few of the board members, if you have the time, Mr. Rod, I really would appreciate it.
Well, just let me explain. Whether there's a fence or whether there's bushes or whether there's trees, we don't deal with that. That's planning or zoning, and that's another board that has members that vote on it. We can't deal with that. We deal with, do we change the zoning or keep it the way it is? If we keep it the way it is, the gentleman can build a number of houses, whatever that number is, 10, 15, I'm not sure what the number is, whatever the lot
Well,
allows.
they're proposing 34, 50 feet from my back door.
Understand, but I'm saying if that right now is not happening, because we haven't voted to change the zoning. But I'm saying if we do not change the zoning, he can still go forward, just so you know, and build homes that are with 10 or 15 curb cuts on Vintage Road, Lane.
I agree with you, and what was sent to me was 36 pages of compliance that needed to happen to build each and every one of those 14 homes.
Okay. And again, we have to end this here, but continue communicating with Scott. Scott happens to be on vacation this week out west, but he'll be returning next week.
I thank you for the patience and allowing me to speak, and I hope some of the residents voice their own personal concern. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brittany Gurney. I'm at 105 Hidden Spring Circle. I'm speaking on behalf of my whole family, Patrick Gurney and Nancy Farrow, my grandmother. We closed on the house July 7th, so we're brand new to Greece. We came all the way from Jersey. we had no idea this was happening essentially in our backyard. We were right next to an attorney. If I'm remembering correctly, he said me and you are affected the most by this. So we just signed a 30-year mortgage on a lot that we thought had some privacy, had some noise cancellation from the major road, and now we didn't even get notice of it during our buying process. Like I said, we closed on the 7th. The letters supposedly were sent out, I believe, the 15th. The previous owner never gave it to us. We never received anything. Our real estate agent never said anything. We just straight up wouldn't buy the house if we knew this was happening. So we're really concerned about the noise pollution, the disturbance to the wildlife that we have back there, and the fact that if you take all these trees out, what are we gonna do about flooding?
We can't stop them from doing that.
Mhm.
Those are zoned residential building lots, so if they build, a number of homes there, they can do that, we have no say in that.
I
So the
understand.
trees could come down, and all that you're talking about can happen. When you buy the property, you gotta research the zoning around you, and that's one of the areas.
Okay, well, we just want to address our concerns because
Sure.
having an apartment complex of 30-some units right in my backyard, facing my backyard, it's a little concerning. I understand it's zoned for the single homes and there's nothing you could do about that.
Right.
But having a single home is a lot different than an apartment complex. Neither one I want in my backyard, but having a whole apartment complex in my backyard, not really ideal. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a
Got the public forum, we'll now proceed to the first item on the agenda.
Excuse me, before you start, I'd like to.
I'm just Bill.
Bill? Whatever. I'm new at this, I'm not a public speaker. In regards to the Dutch Mill, the new one that's coming over, I was at the last meeting and posed some questions to the board and everything else. It was stated that letters were given out to everyone in the area. Well, I walked through my whole neighborhood, only 3 letters were received in my neighborhood. So letters did not receive to everyone in the whole community. A lot of people did not get them, so they're unaware that this was even happening. And I was unaware of the meeting until tonight, so they couldn't make it. But there's a lot of objections to this building going up, or establishment being considered to 2 a.m. in a residential area. The parking, the lighting, the need for 8 security guards and a restaurant. I've been to bars, everyone here's been to a bar. You don't need 8 security guards and a restaurant/family club like they say that this is gonna be. 8 security guards is extensive. That there should be no need for it unless it's all of Metro, or they're anticipating problems. Furthermore, the restaurant, the cook that owned the restaurant, they stated that they have had established businesses before. It was shut down for health violations. You can look it up. So there's a lot of shady stuff going on there, and hopefully you guys reconsider opening it. The whole neighborhood is in agreement. A restaurant would be great there. Same owners, if you want to open a restaurant, fine. Limit the hours to take consideration for the neighborhood and the people that live there. A lot of elderly folks in there, and there's some new, younger couples moving in there and everything else. They're gonna leave. If this opens up, my house will be up for sale. I guarantee it, next day. Also, parking, you gotta take that into consideration. Yes, there is 9 spots available. They said that they have 8 security guards. That's maybe 4 spots if they carpool. So that leaves 5 spots. Where are the rest of them gonna park? Yes, there is public parking in the area, but that ain't gonna accommodate 110 patrons that they said they're gonna have. And what business is gonna limit to 110 patrons when they're zoned for up to 300? That is bad business. If I can fit 300 people in my restaurant, I'm gonna have 300 people in there all day long. If you don't, bad business, why even open? You're setting up for failure. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Anyone want to address the notifications that went out?
Before you close the
Is that is it the resident of an address, so no matter if somebody moved, that home's still gonna get that notice? Or is it to a name?
That would be to whoever the name is on, whoever the property owner is living there.
And that name is derived from what, tax records? Any other questions? Okay, before I open up the public forum, regarding the short-term rentals, that public hearing's coming up next year, you'll have an opportunity to comment, so we won't have to open it. But we'll now go on to the next item, which is, I now declare open the hearing, item closed, excuse me, wait a second, here we go.
Let's go. Really?
We're back on cue here. And I now declare open the public hearing to consider various proposed amendments to the Code of the Town of Greece, chapters 94, 95, 114, 157, 162A, and 211. Madam Clerk.
Publication of this notice in the Daily Record on July 22nd, 2025 has been received.
At this time, I would like to ask John Caterino, Senior Planner of Planning and Economic Development, to provide an overview of these code changes.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
No.
No. You gotta get the light on there. These are brand new microphones. We're upgrading the microphones, the monitors, and the cameras so that by the end of the year, we can be broadcasting live.
Ah.
How does this sound? Well, thank you and good evening, Mr. Supervisor, members of the town board, and residents of the town of Greece. As mentioned, the purpose of this public hearing is regarding proposed amendments to 6 chapters of the town code. And what I'll do is I'm going to go through each chapter individually, and then at the end I'll be happy to answer any questions on those. So the first chapter is chapter 94, which is drugs and paraphernalia. And with the proposed amendments, what we're doing is we're proposing to broaden the definition of marijuana to include different derivatives of marijuana, so that could be edibles, vaping oil, more of what you're seeing in terms of the market. And then in the penalties for that section, because of changes made at the state level, we're removing the misdemeanor as a penalty. People will still pay monetary fines for violating this chapter, but it will be a misdemeanor because of state law. Chapter 95 regarding smoke shops and vape shops. Similar to the drug and paraphernalia section, we are expanding the definition of marijuana. And then also regarding locations throughout the town where smoke shops and vape shops can be operated. In 2024, we adopted a smoke and vape shop ordinance, but when we filed in the county or the state, we had the wrong zoning districts on there, so we just have to do some touch up there. The requirements that they have to be so far away from churches, schools, playgrounds, that's still in effect. And similar to chapter 94, we are removing the misdemeanor penalty from that chapter. The next chapter is chapter 114, which is fire prevention and building construction. The only change that we're proposing for that is that for the section that deals with building permits, a requirement that when somebody is applying for a permit and they have a contractor listed on the application, that contractor provides proof of insurance to the building inspector in terms of workers' comp and liability. That's a practice that the building department already does, but it's just something that we're codifying. Chapter 157 for property maintenance. We're proposing to revise ground cover requirements. We added an additional section regarding dead and dying trees. When it comes to visibility at intersections for vegetations, we remove references to the zoning ordinance. And then currently, there is an exemption for properties that have active building permits. They don't have to cut the grass or maintain the lawn. We're removing that exemption. And then chapter 162A, rental properties. For the definition of short-term rentals, we're modifying that where we'd be exempting owner-occupied short-term rental, or owner-occupied residence where the owner is renting out a room and he or she will be present there for the duration of the tenancy. And then we're also adding some language that would prohibit some signage from being placed on the property to advertise it for lease for rent for a short-term residence. And then chapter 211 zoning ordinance, as part of these amendments, we're not proposing any changes to uses. So uses that are allowed in all the different zoning districts, whether principal, accessory, those are all remaining as is, nothing's changing there. And we're not making any map amendments. So the zoning map as of today will be the zoning map in effect after this. And really for this section, a lot of it is touch up. So we have some definitions in the ordinance which we define but really don't show up in the code, and some are redundant, so we're removing those. For single family zoning districts, we already have a requirement where you're not allowed to have an accessory structure on a residential property, so a pool, a deck, a shed, a garage, unless you have a home. But we're just putting that in there instead of just having a definition to address that. For swimming pools, we currently have a requirement in chapter 114 that deals with how far they need to be away from buildings and structures. So we're just duplicating that language from that chapter and inserting it into the zoning ordinance. And then in our planned residential zoning district, which is one of our newer zoning districts, we've added some additional design and layout criteria. So best example I can give is the project just up the road from Town Hall behind the retreat and Master Seafood. That was the first development in that zoning district where it allows for a mixture of single family homes and townhomes. And as part of that project, we had a developer that voluntarily did some design elements in terms of the single family homes on the south adjoining Crosby Road. There's about 30 single family homes, and instead of having 30 cookie cutter of the same homes, they did some variations in siding, colors of the house, roof lines, locations of garages, and front doors. So that's something that we wanted to codify. And then for the remainder of the amendments for this chapter, a lot of it is regarding signage, fencing, visibility at intersection, and kind of just doing some cleanup on those. Like I mentioned, uses that are allowed in zoning districts currently, those won't be impacted. And that's all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, John, and thanks for the presentation. We'll take questions and comments from the general public now. I'd like to say that if you have an interest in commenting or questions on this hearing, please come up to the podium using the center on, state your name and address for the record. If you have any questions, we will document those questions, and at the conclusion of all the speakers, we will provide answers or address the questions that you raise. Please know that all questions and comments will be directed through the chair, and keep in mind that you will have 3 minutes to provide comments and ask questions. And I will also advise that this is not going to be a direct question answer period, but whatever concerns you have or questions, just ask them, we'll write them down, and at the conclusion of everyone's comments, we'll address your concerns. So I'd invite anyone that would like to come up to come up now.
If you cover that.
My name is Betty Bentley, 708 North Grease Road. I just want to say thank you for making the code change of owner-occupied rental, short-term rental. We did 5 years, 585 guests, literally from all over the world. We showed them where to get gas, where to get their car fixed, where to go for supper, anything that they had to do, and we were like the best PR people for the town of Greece. So I'm so happy because I love people and I love helping them out, and this is my thing, hospitality. Thank you.
Certainly. Yeah, that was an unfortunate, you got caught up in that when we dealt with the short-term rentals, and we're correcting that now, I should say, so that we're happy to do that. That was not our intent, but we're glad you pointed it out, now we're correcting it. Anyone else?
Brendan Wilson, 440 Shortcliff Drive. My first comment would actually be coming from Joe. He was saying that say in the future, when going over those, if you could bring them up on the monitor as well. I have, that was a hefty document to go through, but, I'm wondering if you cover a little more of, what's on the last page of the document and, basically what the meaning and, what's gonna move forward with that. Going to, like reading over, I'm just gonna kind of flip through what I was noticing. It looks like some of this stuff is going to take, some of the power away from the planning board and bypass straight to permitting instead, so you don't have to go to the planning board for some stuff, and you just have to get a permit. Another question, I guess, would be going backwards to the marijuana one. I was actually surprised that there was a fine on there. I know, obviously, you kind of run into it everywhere now, but, with the, what was it, $500 first offense, $1,500 each additional offense. Are there any other towns that are doing that currently? It was just something I hadn't heard of before. I'm not personally a marijuana user, and, man, eventually I hope they don't outlaw cigarettes. But, there was some wording in there when I was going through it, and I'm wondering with the wording if, aside from marijuana, if that could affect any prescription drugs. Say, drugs for narcolepsy. You know, there are scheduled drugs that you have to have a prescription for, and I just worry that if that law is not reworded, other people could get in trouble for stuff that they just normally use day to day. And I think that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Ryan Murphy, 197 Country Trail. There's a couple of things that I saw in there, and Brian is right, there's definitely a very happy document to go through with a couple of days to go, but, first one, the ground cover. Now, it says all bare ground must be covered by either cloth or mulch or something of that nature. You know, my wife has vegetable gardens, that's bare ground. We have a fire pit out back, that's bare ground. Is that included in that, or do I have to mulch our vegetable gardens, or put mulch or ground cover in my fire pit? That should probably be clarified. Another one I saw in there, and I don't have my notes with me, so forgive me. The changes in the rules as far as the height of fences, from 6 feet to 4 feet, could you just clarify that for me? And the other one that I noticed is liability insurance for people doing remodeling, repairs, things like that on their homes. The liability insurance that the new code talks about, it actually is to cover the town as well. Now, if I'm doing something in my house, if I'm putting a 3 seasons remote and I'm doing the work myself, do I need liability insurance to cover the town? Or is that something strictly for contractors? What are the rules and regulations? I didn't know you were worried about liability for the town.
Anyone else? We sure? Okay, we'll close it. All right. Would you like to address some of the issues that were raised?
Mr. Bolson, Brendan, we were talking about the last page, we were talking about 21173.
Yes.
Yeah, so what we did, was in the ordinance, we did create a spot for the Director of Planning and Economic Development, currently Scott Colby here, is not here today. And pretty much what this does is kind of spell out the activities of what we do on a day-to-day basis. So, you know, as employees of Scott, we work for him, and some of you probably remember me from Planning Board and back in the zoning board days. You know, the Department of Planning and Economic Development, we serve as staff advisors to both those boards. So pretty much what this section is to kind of show the duties and responsibilities that fall under that department. You know, applications that still require planning board and zoning board approval, nothing's gonna change with that, those are still gonna occur. It's just spelling out the duties of what the department does.
Okay.
Let's see here, I'm terms of marijuana fines, I don't know off the top of my head, I don't know if the chief has anything or regarding that, for other municipalities at least. And exemptions for prescription drugs, that was a question maybe the town attorney could bring any thoughts to that, of how that would apply if somebody's got a legal prescription for marijuana in the town?
Not just marijuana, but would it affect other prescription drugs?
Yeah, so I believe the code is structured in a way to start with the threshold issue of drug paraphernalia, so I don't know that a prescription drug would necessarily meet the threshold definition. But to the extent there's any conflict between a verified prescription for that and the way that the code is being amended to now expand the definition of marijuana, that's something I can definitely take a look at and advise to make sure that's not swept in, because I don't believe that's the intention of the town board.
Thank you.
And then Mr. Murphy's question regarding ground cover, that wouldn't apply to your garden or your fire pit. The areas where, people just over time, the grass just dies off and becomes barren and causes erosion and stuff like that. So, your garden or your fire pit area, that can remain as is, and you could always tweak the language to exempt, gardens and so forth. And then in terms of the insurance question from the building department, I'll defer to Joe Fornataro on that one.
For the insurance, all that is that exempts the homeowner. What it is it's for the contractor doing work at somebody's home. We just want it clear that liability, now we do the practice already, but it wasn't clearly written in the code. So if somebody wanted to argue it, they would have been able to. So what it is it's just liability insurance for the contractor who's coming and building your deck. We want to make sure that he has liability, and the state already covers the comp insurance that's required by the state, which is separate. So yeah, that's all it's for. So you as a homeowner doing it yourself, you wouldn't be required to supply the liability insurance.
Joe, did you address, there was a question about fence height?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So in terms of fence heights, we didn't change really anything in the code for, 4 foot, 6 foot, but the one thing that we did add was on vacant residential lots. As written today, if somebody wanted to fence in their yard and there was a vacant property, they would need to go to the zoning board for approval. So we built in an exemption where you can do a fence on a vacant lot that can't exceed 4 feet tall, and it's gotta be 50% of the construction. So chain link, if you do a picket, 2-inch picket with 2-inch spacing. So that would now be permitted where before you need zoning board approval.
Okay, thank you. And I'll declare this public hearing item closed and ask for a motion on this.
So.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, item carries.
Yeah.
Whereas the Town of Grace Town Board has proposed to adopt various proposed amendments to the Code of the Town of Grace, chapters 94, 95, 114, 157, 162A, and 211. And whereas the Town Board makes the following findings. The proposed changes constitute an unlisted action pursuant to the secret regulations. And on August 21st, 2025, the Town Board held a public hearing to consider the proposed amendments, at which time all parties in interest and citizens were afforded the opportunity to be heard, and the Town Board has carefully considered the environmental assessment and has met the procedural and substantive requirements of seeker. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Board determines the proposal will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment, which constitutes a negative declaration. So,
Second. Moved by Councilman Bloomer, second by Councilman Murphy. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, item carries.
Mr. Supervisor, be it enacted by the Town Board, the Town of Greece, Monroe County, State of New York, that the Code of the Town of Greece,
chapters 94, 95, 114, 157, 162A, and 211 shall be amended as presented. So moved.
Second. Moved by Councilman Bloomer, second by Councilman Murphy. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, item carries. At this time, we'll proceed with the rest of the agenda. Will the clerk please read the first item?
Item number 1, announcement of decision on an application to consider a special use permit to operate a bar, tavern, and nightclub to be known as Antigo's Restaurant and Club located at 2901 Dewey Avenue.
Mr. Supervisor, the secret determination for Nativo's, whereas Nativo's Restaurant and Club has submitted a request to the town board for a special use permit to operate a bar, tavern, or nightclub, as defined in section 211.5 of the zoning ordinance, a property located at 2901 Dewey Avenue in a DMU, Dewey Avenue Mixed Use Zoning District. And whereas the proposal is classified as a type 2 action pursuant to the state environmental quality review or secret regulations. Type 2 actions have been determined to not have a significant impact on the environment and are not subject to further review under secret. Now therefore, be it resolved that pursuant to secret, based on the aforementioned information, documentation, testimony, and findings, and after examining the relevant issues, the town board's own initial concerns, and all relevant issues raised and recommendations offered by the involved and interested agencies, and the town's own staff, the town board determines that the proposal will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment, which constitutes a negative declaration. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bloomer, second by Councilman Cristofanaro. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, item carries.
Whereas having considered carefully all relevant documentary, testimonial, and other evidence submitted by the town board makes the following findings. In summary, the applicant's proposes to operate a bar, tavern, or nightclub in part of a vacant freestanding building, which is located in the Dewey Avenue corridor. The proposal includes indoor live music and disc jockeys, dancing, dance lessons, games, food service, and service of alcoholic beverages. The proposal does not include outdoor cooking or outdoor seating. The proposed hours of operation are Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. And Friday and Saturday and certain holidays, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. The proposal will utilize public parking available in the vicinity of the establishment. Security will be provided as part of the proposal. Existing land uses in the vicinity include retail, single-family houses, a private school, and places of worship. On July 10th, 2025, at the Greece Town Hall, 1 Vince Coffee Boulevard, the town board held a public hearing to consider the proposal, at which time all parties in interest and citizens were afforded the opportunity to be heard. Proof of notice for this public hearing is on file. Details of the proposal were presented by the applicant at the hearing for the town board's consideration. The proposal is located in the densely developed Dewey Avenue corridor within 230 feet of the closest single-family home. Residents attending the hearing expressed concerns that the proposal would have a detrimental effect on the neighborhood and their quiet enjoyment of their property due to concerns with the proposal being primarily a drinking and dancing establishment rather than primarily a food service establishment. Concerns with proposed hours of operation. Concerns with potential late night noise from music and patrons coming and going. Concerns that the proposal will increase potential for criminal activity, underage drinking, late night disturbances of litter. Concerns that patrons will be parking on nearby residential streets, and concerns with potential negative impacts to property values. At the hearing, the town board asked the applicant's representatives whether they would be willing to restrict the hours of operation in order to address many of the concerns, objections that were stated by the neighbors and the applicant client. The
location of the proposal was previously home to a restaurant and bar with similar operating hours. The town board closed the hearing and reserved decision. Now therefore be resolved that based on the aforementioned information, documentation, testimony, and findings pursuant to the authority conferred by the New York State Town Law, Article 16, and pursuant to the Code of the Town of Greece, Chapter 211, the special use permit to operate a bar, tavern, or nightclub, as defined in Section 211-5 of the zoning ordinance, hereby approves, subject to the following conditions. The applicant shall operate the proposal in conformity with all details of the proposal, as described in written descriptions and various plans of the proposal, and as set forth herein. In the event of any conflict among the written descriptions of the proposal, the various plans of the proposal, or the requirements or restrictions of this resolution, the town board in its sole discretion and judgment, and without hearing, shall determine the resolution of such conflict. Hours of operations shall be 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days per week. The applicant shall at all times maintain compliance with the town's noise ordinance, Chapter 139 of the Code of the Town of Greece, and prevent excessive noise as defined therein. As offered and agreed by the applicant, the building shall be soundproof so as to avoid disturbing area residents. Soundproofing methods and specifications shall be subject to review by the town staff and installed in accordance with any code requirements prior to the issuance of a certificate of compliance. The applicant shall at all times maintain sufficient security staff so as to prevent disturbances, including but not limited to criminal activity, underage drinking, late night disturbances, and litter. The proposal shall be limited to the first floor only, and any unauthorized use or occupancy of the second floor shall be considered a violation of the special use permit. The applicant shall make all practical efforts to inform patrons against parking on nearby residential side streets. In an effort to allay concerns expressed by area residents, this town board shall review a report provided by the Greece Police Department, code compliance officials, and the fire marshal of any disturbances, violations, or residential complaints associated with the proposal no more than 6 months from the issuance of the certificate of compliance, and a frequency of its choosing thereafter. As offered and agreed by the applicant will work with the town of Greece to address any concerns raised by the town board upon review of such reports, and further agrees to return before this town board as may be requested to discuss remedies, including but not limited to modifying the proposal to lessen the effects. Notwithstanding failure to comply with the conditions of this special use permit and all applicable federal, state, county, and town laws, ordinances, codes, rules, and regulations, or a violation associated with this establishment's New York State liquor license may be grounds for revocation of this special use permit. The maximum occupancy shall be the limits established by the town's fire marshal pursuant to the New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code. The applicant shall obtain all other approvals, permits, and certificates which may be required from the town of Greece and any other agencies. Whenever this resolution refers to a specific public official, agency, or regulation, it shall be construed to include any succeeding authority. So moved.
I'll second with one clarification, that the public hearing was held on July 17th, 2025.
Thank you.
So corrected. Moved by Councilman Bloomer, second by Councilwoman Priscilla. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, item carries.
Item number 2, authorization to enter into various agreements for programs associated with the operation of the library. And further, the authorization for the supervisor to execute all related documents.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Fazio, second by Councilman Bloomer. Is any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, item carries.
Item number 3, authorization to enter into various agreements with programs associated with the operation of the center. Further authorization for the supervisor to execute all related documents.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Fazio, second by Councilman Murphy. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, item carries.
Item number 4, authorization to
Councilman Bloomer, second by Councilman DePanzio. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, and that carries.
Item number 6, acceptance of a check in the amount of $816,061 from Trayman Group LLC for Ballestero Substance Control. So moved.
Moved by Councilman Christopher, second by Councilman Bloomer. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, and that carries.
Item number 7, authorization for the supervisor to enter into an energy performance contract with Solar Liberty, 6500 Sheridan Drive, Suite 120, Buffalo, New York, 14221, for the construction of a 5-megawatt AC solar photovoltaic
Sure.
facility in the amount not to exceed $12,055,585, and for the supervisor to sign all necessary documents.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bloomer, second by Councilman Christopher. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, and that carries.
Item number 8, authorization to borrow an amount not to exceed $4,822,000 for the construction of a 5-megawatt AC solar photovoltaic facility on town property located south of Ridge Road and east of Manitou Road. Short-term note will be payable after release of federal rebate funds.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Murphy, second by Councilman DePanzio. Now, as far as discussion again, this is just fronting the money that we're going to get from the federal government until the check comes from the federal government. So, it's a short-term, note for that purpose. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, that carries.
Item number 9, authorization for the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Archwood Office Technology, with office located at 2595 Brighton Random Road, Rochester, New York, 14623, for maintenance on town printers and copiers.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Councilman Murphy, second by Councilman Bloomer. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, that carries.
Item number 10, authorization to extend the following contract for an additional year with no change in pricing and contract terms. This would be the second of 4 possible extensions. 2023 Fleet Tire Service and Recapping with Lewis General Tires, Inc.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Murphy, second by Councilman Christopher. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, that carries.
Item number 11, authorization for the Department of Public Works to purchase a one-ton extended cab 4x4 utility truck utilizing New York State Auto Marketplace main bid process. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Christopher, second by Councilman DePanzio. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, that carries.
Item number 12, authorization to accept amendment B, winter severity index from New York State Department of Transportation for the 2024-2025 snow season. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Christopher, second by Councilman Bloomer. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, that carries.
Should that be 25?
Well. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's mostly slow and paying.
All right, I got it. Sorry. Item number 13, issuance of a sidewalk waiver for the installation of 100 linear feet of sidewalk located at 290 Salmon Creek Drive. So moved.
Second. Moved by Councilman Christopher, second by Councilman Murphy. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, item carries.
Item number 14, authorization to enter into an agreement with GRB Hubco LLC, an affiliate of Glenport Community Corporation, to establish payment terms for equipment fees owed to the town of Greece in association with the construction of industrial facilities located at 205 McLaughlin Road, Rochester, New York, 14606, the amount of $666,000. Further authorization of the supervisor to execute all related documents.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman DePanzio, second by Councilman Bloomer. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, item carries.
Item number 15, authorization for the police department to enter into an agreement with Labs Edge for the video production services. Further authorization of the supervisor to execute all related documents.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman DePanzio, second by Councilman Murphy. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, item carries.
Item number 16, authorization to accept funds for the FY 2022 Tactical Team Grant Program in the amount of $75,000 administered by the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services.
favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, item carries.
Item number 17, authorization to appoint one full-time motor equipment operator effective August 23rd, 2025.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Councilman DeMazio, second by Councilman Murphy. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, item carries.
Item number 18, authorization to appoint one full-time residential plan review inspector effective August 23rd, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Blumer, second by Councilman Pacino. Is there any further discussion? Yes.
Just a resident asked about this job. This is just a civil service position in the building department, correct?
Yes.
Of what department, I'm sorry?
Building department.
Okay. And as with any civil service job, it comes with a prerequisite, a number of qualifications to be qualified to be considered. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, item carries.
Item number 19, authorization to set a bid date of September 15th, 2025 at 3 p.m. for the delivery and construction of Town of Greece DPW fuel island canopy. Further authorization of the supervisor to execute all related documents.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Councilman DeMazio, second by Councilman Murphy. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, item carries.
Item number 20, authorization to enter into an agreement with Monroe County for energy purchases for the period of 9/1/25 to 8/31/30. This agreement allows the town to aggregate our energy requirements with a number of other Monroe County towns and the county itself in order to obtain more competitive pricing.
So moved. Second. Moved by Councilman Murphy, second by Councilman Concio. On discussion, that is the contract we enter into to reduce our costs on both gas and electric. And once the solar farm is up and running, we anticipated no later than the middle of 26, we will withdraw from that contract and therefore not have an electric bill anymore. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, and it carries. At this time, I would like to take a motion to go into executive session to discuss pending or current litigation related to personnel injury matters. Please note that no action will be taken following the end of the executive session other than the formal closing of this evening's town board meeting.
I'll move to go into executive session.
Moved by Councilwoman Cristobal, second by Councilman DePoncio. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, item carries. So now, we would ask that everyone, except the parties involved in this executive session, namely our town attorney, our town board, and a few key, our personnel director, and our deputy supervisor, to remain